Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for November for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you a brief overview and then dive deep to give you a much more forensic analysis, so please stay with me for that. So as this month begins, the most exciting thing to tell you is Mars, your traditional ruler, has arrived back in your sign and is going to be with you for 6 long weeks through to the middle of December. Mars in your own sign is just going to really help to give you that extra dynamism. It's going to bring you into the present. Your energy is going to be up. You can move forward in a very thrusting and direct way. It's absolutely fabulous. But also, of course, there is a new moon in your sign on the 4th. So that has an electric dimension to it because of the role of Uranus on the other side of the heavens. And really, that's the big news story of this month, is that the Sun, Mercury, which arrives in your sign on the 5th, and Mars all go into opposition with that rather restless vibe of Uranus. Also, Venus is going to be moving on the 5th into a very long transit in the sign of Capricorn, which is to do with relationships with siblings, with neighbours, and how you think. And of course, Venus can add a little bit of charm to the situation, and I'm going to be telling you more about that too. If you're new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, if you'd like to get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, you can do so by subscribing on the link beneath this video. My work is used on many platforms around the world and by Britain's most read newspaper, the Metro, and I'd love to have you reading them too. And finally, with year 2022 racing up fast, if you'd like to get your forecast for next year and also a character analysis, you can order now and get the rest of this year free. This is based on your time, place and date of birth. So very unique to you, and will give you searing insights for the times ahead. And please see the link for that too beneath this video. Hello Scorpio, so as we enter into this new month, the arrival of Mars in your sign, which occurred right at the end of October, can really fire you up. Now, the Sun in Scorpio for you is a time to initiate things, to start afresh. It's new beginnings. It could be a time when your energy becomes much more into the present. Mars in the 12th house transit, as it went through in the 6 weeks, from the middle of September to the end of October, can actually be quite tricky, and you may have done some soul searching, felt a little bit out of sorts, maybe past issues were dominating your thinking somewhat, but now you're wanting to really get things off the ground or energize ongoing strands that are important to you. But on the very first day of this month, Saturn, which is in your sector of home, family, emotions, although it's going forwards now, along with Jupiter, they both went direct last month after an extended period of going backwards, which may have been very limiting in terms of your emotional situation. Well, Saturn does square up to the Sun on day 1. So your very first sort of sense of what this month may have to offer may on one hand give you a sense of excitement of how Mars can motivate you, but something could be a bit limiting. Maybe it's to do with someone close to you who's a bit of a wet blanket for some of the enthusiasms you have. But by the 4th, that new moon really gives you an opportunity to showcase the things about yourself which are really special and give you real opportunities to demonstrate to people your initiative, your flair, your individuality, and you could be a bit more direct. And with Uranus in the mix, Uranus is in your 7th house of relationships. So I think because the Sun is opposite Uranus on this new moon, you may have more of a devil may care attitude. So even if you're someone who's quite sensitive to how other people feel, this could be the month that you decide to rip up your own rule book and be a bit more direct and a bit more single-minded about going for what's right for you. So that's all very, very exciting. But it is true that the excitement mounts even more on the 5th when Mercury arrives in your sign. Mercury's been going through a very long transit through your 12th house, and it probably has created some sleepless nights, some anxious moments. You may have felt that not everything was working quite as well for you as it could have done, and that could be of some, that may have caused some concerns or anxiety, or just feeling on edge. But Mercury moving into your own zone can get your thinking coming into the present as well. So Mercury then goes into opposition with Uranus too from the 11th through to the 14th. And that can be interesting to say the least, because you can be quite direct, even blunt, at the best of times to people about your point of view, and it can surprise people because they see you as being quite pleasant, a little quiet, and then you'll just come out of a boomer and just say absolutely what's on your mind. But when it comes to your own personal situation, you can be a little bit more closed, would be a strong word, cautious for sure. You know, Scorpios can be cautious. But I think Mercury in that electric opposition to Uranus can see you much more outspoken. So that's going to be interesting. But Venus moves for that long transit on the 5th, and that can be very restorative. You know, if there has been strains around a relationship with a sibling or a neighbour, it could be rebuilt. It's even possible for some Scorpios that you could find yourself developing an accord, which then becomes something much more. So that's really interesting. But Mars, having arrived in your sign at the end of last month, then week 2 squares up to Saturn. And if there is something about your home situation which is stuck, it really could be quite frustrating. And the way to deal with this is not to get too caught up in things. It's to try and keep a sense of detachment and know that things in time usually, if not get perfectly solved, things move on, things flow on. And so when we are feeling a bit overwhelmed in the moment, that's something to remember. Now the full moon, which occurs on the 19th, comes after the Sun in your sign has forged a terrific angle to Pluto, your modern ruler. So this potential for transformation around your outlook, your interests, what you're excited about, what you're engaged about, is heightened even more. And of course, the full moon is in your opposite sign, so it's possible that somebody close to you could moan a bit that you're too caught up with what you want to do for yourself and not conscious enough of what you need to be doing for them. And you need to expect that. But it's a full moon that does square up with Jupiter. And somebody could be surprisingly generous towards you, generous of spirit, generous in terms of a gift. But it is true that Mars and Uranus do go into an opposition in week 3. And you could find yourself being much less inclined to back down if you think your point of view on a situation is truthful and honest and fair. But by the 22nd, the Sun, and the 24th, Mercury move into your second house, and all that energy that you're investing in something that's new or putting more zest into something that's been ongoing can start to give you a reward towards the end of this month. And it could be a financial reward at that. And then as the month draws to a close, Mercury is in a glorious angle to Saturn. So you may be able to explain this idea to someone close to you, and they may feel that you've done your research well and they're very receptive to what you have to say. But of course, Mercury is about how we think, and in the second house for you could be about resources. So something around the property matter could be discussed towards the end of this month. But this is a month which has given you the opportunity to bounce back from the Mercury and Mars transits through your 12th house. You had quite a sociable part of the year, then you seem to go into yourself, perhaps felt a little bit withdrawn or not very interactive with others. You're going to emerge from that powerfully this month, be on the front foot, but you won't be in the mood to take any prisoners. And that could be exciting, but it also can break something that perhaps has been a bit vulnerable. So if you're very forceful about a relationship matter in particular, It could draw someone to you in a very exciting way if you're single. Whether it would last or not is hard to say because Uranus is so changeable. But in an existing relationship, the force of nature that you can demonstrate this month, although you may be very truthful and say some things that perhaps have needed to be said for some time, it could be very harsh, the exchange that goes on. Someone could come back to you with their account of a situation and it can be just as intense. So just consider finding the balance between what's important in terms of protecting your interests, but also be conscious that other people's needs are part of the process too, and it's just finding that nice balance when there's such a lot of passion, thrust and sex appeal, quite frankly, pulsating around your sign.